Welcome to round 7, 8 and 9 of the iRacing British Touring Car Championship from the Okayama short course here on the 15th of August. I'm your commentator, Chris Cohen, and as you can see, today's qualifying is half an hour. Plenty of time for the drivers to get in a good few laps ahead of the 3 races we have in store for you, 16 laps each, qualifying only determining the position on the grid for the first race, of course. Drivers have had their chance to warm up on this very tight and twisty circuit, and we will be heading into the qualifying session any moment. Before we do, let's have a look at the championship. So, 6 rounds behind us, Ignacio Pinella with an 18-point lead in the championship. He's up on top. Adam Terry in second place. Ellis Stevens third. Jake Tucker fourth. Andreas Katz, the new entry in the last race, Summit Point, quickly grabbing 5th place in the championship. There's not much in it further down the order. Ignacio with a nice lead up front, and anyone really could be up in the top 3 after today's session, I'd like to say. A little bit further down the field then, 11th Paul Bird, 12th Peter Foster, 13th Simon Field, definitely be looking up to move up in the points today, 14th Laura Bond, then Dave Grunhill, Graham Smith, Kieran Mant, Tristan Bottis, Chris Shaw, Peter Van Gool. So 30 minutes of qualifying, some cars already out there on the track. Let's see if we can pick up on a few and see how their lap times are working out. Now this is a very, very tight and twisty track, as I mentioned, and in order to get the best out of the car, these guys want to go for a high downforce, and they really want to make sure that their cars are set up for cornering. There's a lot of corners out there on this particular track, and they want to make sure they get the most out of the car. Very tough on the brakes, very tough on the tyres. Only 16 laps for each of these races, but we've got 3 and they're all bound to be action-packed. It's Marcus Narris then, the KX Momentum. Most of these drivers on the outlap. Let's follow Marcus around for a while and see what he can do. We're hoping to have quite a full grid as well. We've got a lot of drivers out there today. Marcus pulling off already. We're watching Steve Richardson then, coming down the final corner. Down the start finish straight. Steve Richardson for eBay Motors. On board with Steve then, down into turn 1, under the bridge. Turn number 2, hard on the brakes. Nice entry, nice exit as well. He's got a slower car up in front. It's one of the Sicilies. And he moves out of his way. Down the very short straight here into the first of the hairpins. It's a very nice apex. He pulls it out wide to get into the second hairpin here. One of the Momentums up in front won't get in his way. Keeps it out of the pit entry. And a little bit wide on the final corner. Coming down the start finish straight now. Steve Richardson over the line in a 56.1. So not an improvement for Steve. Rob Ross then, a new entry this round for Yuasa. 56.002. That jumps Rob up into 11th place there. Oh, and one of the Speedworks has gone off in front of him. Not getting in his way though, that's no problem for him. On board with Craig Ray then as he starts his flying lap. Through turns 3 and 4. A little bit of grass on the way in, that's okay. With so many cars in the field, of course, and such a short track, it's very difficult to actually get a good run, especially if you've got one of the slower cars up in front of you. Through the second hairpin here with Craig. Keeps it tight on the way out and on the final corner. Coming down the start-finish straight now to complete this flying lap. His best so far, 55.6. And that is 57.0, so it's no improvement with Craig, but he won't be too bothered. He's up in 5th place at the moment. So your positions so far in the first 5 minutes of the qualifying session. Simon Field taking pole position currently with a 55.0, and Andreas Katz has just come back with a 54.9, so he's stolen pole position at this early stage. Simon 2nd place, Marcus Narris in 3rd, Jake Tucker 4th, Dave Grunhill in 5th. There's still plenty of time left to get a decent lap in this qualifying session, and here's another new entry in the championship, taking up the reins for Welch Motorsport. It's the number 777, Ashley Teagle. He comes over the line now. Well, that's an outlap, but his best so far is a 57.6. He'll be looking to improve on that, definitely. He's currently running 24th. Plenty of time to change all that. We're taking a quick look at Stephen Hefford then. Running a 56.7 at the moment. That last lap was an outlap. Let's go on board with Stephen Hefford. He's looking good out of turn 4 down the long straight. I say the long straight, the longest straight other than the start-finish straight, but really not all that long. Down into the first hairpin. It's a little bit wild on the curb on the inside, and unfortunately wide on this one as well. It takes a bit too much grass there, his lap won't count. Don't forget, these drivers won't be classified in a lap time unless they remain on the track throughout the entire lap. Hefford then over the line in a 57.5. It won't count, unfortunately. This is Peter Van Goolen in the Pertec racing machine. Currently running 10th position with a 55.6. Round the final corner now, onto the start-finish straight. He's over the line. That was an outlap, so we'll stay with Peter this time round. Oh no, we won't. He has had an incident, shall we say? Unfortunately. Peter getting a bit sideways out of turn 1 and losing it on the inside of the track there. Nick McCarron, one to watch in this qualifying session, out of the pits, 8th place at the moment. Takes a cheeky little line around the outside of the white line now on the pit exit. Nick thinks better of it. Excuse me. Adam Terry, Team Dynajet, currently running 5th. He's having some connection issues as well. This man 2nd in the championship. It'll be very interesting to see what he can do in this race. Damian Harrison then, in the Wix racing machine, coming out of the pits. And Sean Lay in the Addison Lee has been very impressive in rounds 4, 5 and 6. Managed to pick up some good results there, given some good places in the championship so far. Over the line of 55.4, that moves him up to 7th place. So your positions then, after 10 minutes of qualifying: Andreas Katz with a 54.915, putting him on pole position provisionally. Simon Field just 2/10 behind, and Laura Bond with a very impressive time, taking her into 3rd place. Marcus Narris, then Jake Tucker. Adam Terry currently down in 6th, he'll want to improve on that. Sean Lay 7th, Dave Grunhill 8th, Craig Ray 9th. Sean Lay coming round to complete another flying lap. Nice exit to the final corner, over the start finish line any moment. We'll see if he can improve on the last lap. The 55.4 last time round, 55.9, so he's half a second down on his previous time. He won't be too worried about that. We've still got a good 20 minutes of qualifying remaining. It's Marcus Narris in the 15 KX Momentum, getting out of shape on the first corner. This lap won't count. We've got quite a field here. Almost 30 cars are either out on track or in the pit lane. This is going to make for a bit of a spin there from Marcus. He won't let that bother him. Just gets a little bit on the grass on the way out of that last turn. Bit too much on the throttle into the tyres, and if that was in the race, that would put an end to his race. But during qualifying, he's free to go get another car and give it another try. This man in the Yuasa Racing then, Kevin Woods, coming out of the pits, currently 17th in the order. Just behind him, one of the eBay Motors cars. Kevin just touching on the grass there. A man who will be on somewhat of a mission right now is Dave Grunhill, down in 8th place. He'll want to improve his grid position for the first race, give him as much chance as possible of grabbing as many championship points in the first race. He's currently on a 55.471. I know he'd like to get that down just a little bit, give him the best chance possible. One of the Pertecs up in front. I'm not sure if that's slowing him down or not. We'll see as he comes over the start-finish straight. Yes, I'd say it was. It's 56.0. Oh, and contact! Contact in the qualifying session. Not sure that was entirely necessary. Oh, and more contact. Oh, that is nasty. One of the eBay Motors going off there as well. Not able to get out of the way. So the Pertec driver number 3 up ahead. Peter Foster, probably not checking his mirrors there quite as much as he should have been. And Dave Grunhill gets chopped up, loses the momentum, and the eBay Motors car behind really had nowhere to go here. He must have been thinking, I've got absolutely no chance of avoiding this. Both of them into the barriers. Not the best thing to see to a qualifying session, but Dave's back out on track for another go. So with 15 minutes, half of this qualifying session out of the way, let's have a look at the eBay Motors of Ellis Stevens. It's currently a 9th on a 55.5. We're on board with Ellis now. with his Dayglow race suit in the multicolour rainbow scheme. Down into the first hairpin. Keeps it nice and tight on the entry. You want to take as much curb as possible without taking the grass with you. Very nice second hairpin as well. Penultimate corner. Well, it doesn't look particularly fast. Perhaps he's on an outlap. We'll stay on board, see what he does coming over the start-finish line here. Positions for you then after 15 minutes. Adam Terry has jumped up into second place on the grid. Just 0.065 behind Andreas Katz. Can anyone beat that man from Germany is the question. A near miss there from Ellis as he just got around one of those KX Momentum spinners up in front of him. And he decides to give up on that particular lap. So Simon Field, third place, Laura Bourne fourth, Marcus Naris in fifth, and Jake Tucker sixth. So Adam Terry will be much happier with that position, second on the grid rather than the sixth he was earlier. Nick McCarron has been pushed out of the top 10. He's got a score to settle with these guys, but he's not going to do it like that. On board with Craig Ray then. 55.6. Puts him in the top 10, but that particular corner puts him in the gravel. That's a corner I'm sure he'd like to forget. There's Simon Topham on the Wix racing machine. A new entry into the championship this time round. 17th currently, 56.3. Over the line then of 59.9. It doesn't improve his position, still 17th there. Looking a little bit further down the field then. This man, Ashley Teagle, a 57.3 so far, puts him in 27th. Just behind Colin Steele. He'd like to improve on that one. Let's see what he can do this time round. Carries a little bit too much speed into 2. Brings it round for 3, but he'll have lost a half a second there or so. Turn 4 keeps it nice and clean. Into the first hairpin then. And the second takes a nice wide entry. There's a car backwards on the track there. It's a good exit. Crosses over the penultimate corner there, keeping it out of the pit lane. Over the final corner and down the start finish straight. Ashley Teagle, Welsh Motorsport, over the line in a 57.313. It's a slight improvement. Not going to move him further up the grid. And I tell you what, it's going to be a difficult proposition starting 27th with a grid this size on a track this tight. Here we are on board with Rob Ross then in the Yuasa racing machine, mid grid if you like at the moment. 16th place for Ross. He's currently running a 55.9. One of the Pertec machines up in front of him. We're almost 2/3 of the way through this qualifying session for rounds 7, 8 and 9 of the British Touring Car Championship at Okayama. Over the line then, Rob Ross. And that's a 56.9, he's a second off his own best lap there, so no improvement. Adam Terry then, second in the championship, second on the grid. Looking to just pip that pole position off Andreas Katz if you get down in turn 1 ahead of everyone else. less chance you're going to have an incident on turn 1 that might interfere with your race. That's a 54.986, and it's not good enough to put him on pole, but it's not far off. It's a very impressive time there from Adam Terry. Some of the drivers out on track. Some drivers not posted a qualifying time just yet. They've got about 10 minutes to do so before the end of this session. Oh, and a spinner. One of the speedworks there, just getting out of shape in the first hairpin. Don't forget, any live viewers, anyone watching this live, you will need to retune for race 1. The feed will end and we'll go into a brand new feed for the first race. 3 races today here from Okayama, 16 laps apiece. The positions on the grid in the first race will be determined by this very qualifying session. Those positions on your screen now, and the positions in the second race will be determined by the results from the first, and the third race of course has the reverse grid to mix things up a little bit, as if it won't be exciting enough already. Andreas Katz then is your pole man at the moment in a 54.767. Excuse me. Katz of course winning 2 of the last 3 races at Summit Point Raceway last week in the British Touring Car Championship. Terry second, Field third, Laura Bond holds on to her 4th position, Naris in 5th, Tucker 6th, Granil 7th. We're back to Ellis Stevens then. Ellis with a top time so far of 55.4. That puts him in 9th position at the moment. Further down than he'd like to be, I'm sure, at the start of this race. But within the top 10, safely within the top 10 currently. Let's see what he can do this time around. On board then, Ellis Stevens in the eBay Motors machine. Nice and tight through the penultimate corner. It's gone slightly wide there on the final corner, missing the apex just a touch. Over the start finish line in a 55.394, and that's jumped him up to 8th place. And he's overtaken this man, Sean Lay. Sean down to 9th now, with Craig Ray in 10th, Van Gool in 11th, Nick McCarron in 12th position. Nick McCarron's taken the wrong line there. He's gone for the full course corner, which won't help him in this case. Well, here's a man we haven't seen anything of in the qualifying so far, Paul Bird in the Airways Racing. He's currently running in 23rd place, 56.7 his best time. Let's go on board with him for a flying lap. It's a nice line through the first corner. These cars, these front wheel drive cars, struggling under the power coming out of the corners. It's looking good through 2 and 3. One of the Pertecs wobbling in front of him. I think that's probably put him off enough to destroy this lap time, unfortunately. With such a large field on such a short track, under a minute a lap in this case, you're always going to get cars ahead, cars behind, cars to the side. Not just in qualifying, but in the race as well. And Paul Bird indeed ditches this particular lap. Jonathan Rex, then, one of the independents, currently running in 18th with a 56.2, comes out of turn 3, down the short straight here, onto the pedestrian bridge, and he's having all sorts of trouble with his gears there, as you can hear. All sorts of trouble with the back end as well, unfortunately, for Rex, and there's some contact there as well. He just gets a little bit tail happy coming through the second hairpin. Can't keep the tail end in shape. Brings it to a nice safe stop, and then rolls forwards. Any moment now from the left of your picture, that is one of the Wix racing cars with absolutely nowhere to go, unfortunately. Rex then back in the pits, still in 18th place. And this is the Addison Lee of Jake Tucker. He's running in 6th place at the moment with a 55.305. I'll be very satisfied with that. This is round 6's race winner, let me remind you. Jake Tucker, a new entry last week in the championship, impressing everyone, managing to overcome the dominance of Andreas Katz in the last round at Summit Point Raceway to take the win in the third race. A well-deserved win as well. Let's see what he can do here, as he's been pushed down to 7th in the standings. Gets a little bit of gravel, might be alright for the lap time. It's not a great lap time. Not by Jake's standards anyway, so it doesn't improve on his 55.3. And this man is your current pole sitter, has been for the entirety of the qualifying session. Nobody able to get past his time of 54.767, and it'll be a difficult one to beat. On board then with Katz. Through turns 2 and 3 and 4, coming out of 4 now onto the straight. Down into the first hairpin. He was hard on the brakes there, turned in a little bit too early, and consequently a little bit late on this hairpin. Oh, and a very sideways car up in front of him. All kinds of chaos going on there. This won't be a fast lap from Andreas, unfortunately. Across the line nonetheless, with 2.5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. We'll try and have a word with some of these drivers during the races. Well, not during the races, but between the races, shall we say, and see if we can get their thoughts on this championship to date. Kat's one of the 4 drivers for eBay Motors, and currently the eBay team are doing extremely well. 4 out of the top 7 places in the championship are occupied by eBay Motors. Let's see if this is a bit better lap time from Andreas with a bit more clear air in front of him. I say clear air as he drives through a large patch of gravel smoke. Coming down the start-finish straight now. He won't improve on his time this time around. And these drivers then have got a maximum of 1 more lap to fit in here before the end of the session. Let's remind you of these positions. Katz on pole. Adam Terry 0.2 behind in 2nd place. Then field. Stevens takes 4th from Laura Bond. It's pushed down to 5th in exactly the same time. Craig Ray in 6th. Naris 7th. Tucker 8th. Grunhill 9th. Steve Richardson in 10th. Now I've got to say that's an identical time, and you can see that on your screen there. An identical time from Ellis Stevens and Laura Bond there. I'm not sure what the ruling is on this. If 2 drivers finish to the same 1,000th of a second, How is it decided which one takes 4th and which one takes 5th in this case on the grid? Your guess is as good as mine there. Laura Bond was perhaps 2nd to that particular time, which might explain why Stevens has taken the 4th and Laura the 5th. But in any case, both of those drivers will be happy that they're in the top 5, coming through to the last few seconds of the qualifying session now. Cats will take pole then for race 1, round 7 at Okayama. I hope you can join us for the race, because it's going to be an exciting one.